بینندگان گرامی تلویزیون ایران تیوی، با 16مین برنامه تلویزیونی بیبا در 14 جون 2003 به پایان دوره اول برنامه‌هایمان رسیدیم. عده زیادی از شما احتمالاً موفق به دیدن این برنامه‌ها نشدند و نظر به درخواست پخش مجدد مجموعه برنامه‌های دوره اول بران شدیم که این 15 برنامه را برای شما بینندگان گرامی باز پخش نماییم.
سلام، خوش آمدید به 6مین برنامه بیبا. از آنجایی که شاید تعدادی از بینندگان ارجمند ایران تیوی تا به حال برنامه‌های ما را ندیده باشند، اجازه می‌خوام که توضیح مختصری درباره خودمون به شما بدهم. من بابک امامیان، بنیانگذار British Iranian Business Association که به فارسی میشه انجمن مدیران ایرانی مقیم انگلستان و به مختصر ما به خودمون بیبا میگیم. بیبا پس از 9 سال فعالیت دائم در انگلستان به خوبی شناخته شده است. علت تهیه این برنامه شناسایی بیبا به دوستان عزیز ما در آمریکا است. به امید آنکه این باعث گسترش روابط اقتصادی بین ایرانیان مقیم انگلستان و آمریکا بشود. قبل از که من به برنامه امشب ادامه بدم، اجازه بدید من یک توضیح مختصری درباره یکی از فلسفه‌های بیبا بدم. ما در بیبا اصرار داریم که برای شناسایی بیشتر و آشنایی با انگلستان فقط به انگلستان، پارک باکینگهام پلس، گردشگاه هاید پارک یا مثلا مادام توساد یا ساعت بیگ بن نگاه نکنیم، بلکه واقعا اگه ما خواهیم پی ببریم که قدرت، نفوذ، اهمیت و شهرت انگلستان از کجا میاد، به نظر ما باید از 3 زاویه به این مسئله نگاه کرد. و اگه اجازه بدید من این 3 مسئله رو توضیح بدم به طور مختصر به شما. اول اینکه به نظر ما انگلستان خیلی میشه راحت تشبیه کرد به یه بانک بزرگ، یعنی یک مرکز مالی بزرگ که تمام امور مالی دنیا یک طوری با انگلستان یه رابطه‌ای داره. حالا به خاطر بانک‌های انگلیسی هستش که به خاطر بازار بورس انگلستان هستش. انگلستان در مورد تجارت جهانی و در مورد مسائل علمی خیلی فعال هستش و خیلی برای تهیه سرمایه به انگلستان میاد. پس به انگلستان میشه به یک بانک بزرگ نگاه کرد. دوم، از زاویه دوم که به انگلستان نگاه میشه کرد، به عنوان یک مرکز حقوقی با نفوذ میشه نگاه کرد که تمام قراردادهای دنیا، چه مسائل کشوری باشه، چه مسائل شرکتی باشه، چه مسائل اقتصادی یا چیزهای دیگه باشه، همه یک طوری با قراردادها و قوانین انگلستان در رابطه است. چرا؟ چون قوانین انگلستان فوق‌العاده دقیق، با نفوذ و پایدار هستند. زاویه سوم به انگلستان میشه به عنوان یک مرکز تکنولوژی و صنعت بهش نگاه کرد. و در چندین هفته گذشته تمام برنامه‌هایی که ما تهیه کردیم، هدفمون این بود که شما دوستان ما در آمریکا رو درباره این مسئله بهتون آشنایی بدیم که انگلستان یک مرکز صنعت، تکنولوژی و تحقیقات علمیه. حالا در برنامه امشب چه هدفی داریم؟ یک مقداری شما رو با انگلستان در مورد مسائل حقوقی آشنا کنیم و برای همین منظور از 2 حقوقدان ایرانی مقیم انگلستان دعوت کردیم که امشب باشون گفتگویی داشته باشیم. حالا چرا ما اینقدر اصرار داریم که انگلستان رو اینطوری به شما معرفی کنیم؟ چرا میایم انگلستان میگیم مرکز بانکداری هستش، یک بانک بزرگ هستش، مرکز حقوقی هست، یک مؤسسه حقوقی بزرگه و مرکز تکنولوژی هست؟ چرا دوست داریم اینقدر اینطوری به شما انگلستان رو معرفی کنیم؟ اگه شما در آمریکا فعالیت میکنید، فعالیت اقتصادی دارید یا در حرفه دیگه فعالیت میکنید و منم اول بگم آمریکا یک بازار فوق‌العاده بزرگی هست و اگه موفق هستید و تصمیم ندارید که شما بین‌المللی بشید، یعنی با کشورهای دیگه رابطه اقتصادی یا تجاری داشته باشید یا رابطه علمی داشته باشید یا امور مالی، اینا اصلا لازم نیست به این توجه کنید. ولی اگه میخواید بین‌المللی بشید، حتما باید مقداری از فعالیت‌های خودتون رو متمرکز کنید در انگلستان و مثلا در لندن. چرا؟ چون که در امور مالی، در امور حقوقی و در امور تکنولوژی حتما باید انگلستان در سطح جهانی یک سری سهیم باشه که شما بتونید کارتون بهتر پیشرفت بکنید. و اگه شما ملاحظه کنید تمام شرکت‌های چند ملیتی یا شرکت‌هایی که میخوان بین‌المللی بشن به بازارهای کشورهای دیگه دنیا دست پیدا کنن حتما یک پایه در انگلستان داره. حال امشب من از دو دوست خوب خودم که از اعضای برجسته بیبام هستن، خانم تانیا ذبیحی و آقای مایکل سوکیاس، که خانم تانیا ذبیحی در تخصص داره در امور اطفال و حقوقی اطفال البته، و آقای مایکل سوکیاس که در قسمت حقوقی اختلافات بازرگانی تخصص داره. باشون گفتگویی دارم و از شما تقاضا میکنم که اگه اجازه بدیم بپردازیم به این مصاحبه. تانیا، خیلی ممنون از اینکه امشب اومدین به برنامه بیوا، به ششمین برنامه بیوا که درباره حقوق هست. مایکل، خیلی ممنون که شما اومدین و خیلی جالبه. امشب اولین شبی هستش که ما گروهی داریم برنامه انجام میدیم و on my right I have Michael Soukias and on my left I have Tanya Zabihi. اگه اول اجازه بدید من خواستم از تانیا خودشو معرفی کنه و بگه که تو ایران تا چند سالگی ایران بودی و بعد که اومدی انگلستان و چطور شد که خواستی اصلا حقوق بخونی؟
من تانیا زبیحی هستم. سال 79 ایران بودم، بعد اومدم به انگلیس اینجا درسام ادامه و 14 سالم بود تصمیم گرفتم که بچه بشم.
و 14 سالگی خواستیم و کجا درس خوندین شما؟
تو لندن.
کجا دانشگاه رفتین شما؟
میدلسکس.
اونجا رفتین اینا. بعدش هم که شما حقوق خوندید شما you became a barrister، درسته؟
Yes, I first became a barrister and then I decided to re-qualify 4 years ago and then became a solicitor.
And where do you work now?
I work for a firm in London called Chrysler & Partners.
Okay, very good. And what do you practice? What law do you practice?
Generally family law, but more specialized in children law.
Oh, very good. مایکل، اگه شما بهم بگی تا چند سالگی شما ایران بودی و
تا 11 سالگی ایران بودم.
بله.
در انگلستان.
کدوم مدرسه ایران میرفتی شما؟
مدرسه نهر.
نه، تو قوام سلطنه به من میگفتی.
درست.
خب.
And I came here and I did my degree in biochemistry.
پس تو بایوکمیست هستی، نه؟
I was.
You were.
And then I decided to become a lawyer.
Why did you want to become a lawyer?
My brother suggested we should both become lawyers and open our practice. And which is what we did. In 85 we started our own practice.
Why become a lawyer?
Because I wanted to help people.
Oh.
At the age of 7 I wanted to help people.
But you could have become a bishop, or you could have become a religious man or social worker. Why a lawyer?
At the age of 7 I thought of being a lawyer, but
Okay. آخه تو خانواده ایرانی they all wanted to become doctors or engineers. نه خیلی من جالبه. من میبینم که یه دفعه شما میگی که I wanted to become a lawyer. و شما میگی چرا میخواستی lawyer بشی؟ تو فیلم ها مثلا پری میسن رو دیده بودی یا؟
Absolutely. I saw it. In fact, it was Petrocelli. I watched it in Iran.
به فارسی؟
No. It's not Farsi. Then I came to England and I had to decide what profession I wanted. And I thought that law. In those days, you had to decide the subject you wanted to study in your O-levels and A-levels. And I decided that I would study the subject which would help me with a law degree. And in those days, you also had careers advice, and they told you what subjects you had to do. So even though it wasn't that much of a scientific process, some thought did go into it.
Okay. حالا اینجا من تصویر جالبی هست. Tanya has become a lawyer and she works for a large firm. But you decide to form your own practice with your brother, Soukias and Soukias. که خیلی سخته. چون از اول که میخوای شروع کنی، خب you don't have clients, you have to scratch from, I suppose, from the bottom of barrel come up, right? چرا خواستی که پرکتیس خودتون داشته باشید؟
I was in another practice 5 years. My brother was in the same practice. And then we decided to start our own practice. And we had a following at that time. And we started it, and it's called.
Okay. This is the question today. I just want to repeat it. You haven't exactly tell me what you haven't told me today why you're in law, but more importantly, are you enjoying it?
Sometimes I enjoy it, yes. And other times you would rather be on a beach relaxing. It just depends. You work hard, you know, you've got a busy caseload, and you do get exhausted by it. So sometimes it's very fulfilling. If you go to court and you enjoy the particular cases you run, yes, it's very fulfilling. Other days you can be with numerous clients who are extremely frustrating and not enjoy the day at all. Overall, I'd say the type of work that I do is particularly fulfilling, but it's very hard.
So if you could roll years back, you could choose another occupation, would you
Probably.
choose? Yeah, we would. What would you do?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably something more creative rather than
You become a painter.
demanding. Yes, paint and decorate.
Why not? What about Michael? Would you open your own pharmacy right now? Would you as a biochemist?
I love law. I love what I do, and I enjoy it, and I do the same thing all over again.
You would do it all over again. All aspects of it.
Yeah, I do.
There's not a moment you hate bad law. Or when you lose cases.
Usually I do.
That's a very confident man. But is there a time you hate law?
They're difficult times, but they're challenging times. To me, the difficulty creates the opportunity for lateral thinking and a challenge. And that's what becomes enjoyable. Finding solutions to impossible situations.
So here you are, you say you want to help people as a lawyer.
Yes.
You run a very successful practice. You've been in law now.
Successful is relative.
Well, what are the financial rewards in it? Are you making money as a lawyer? Do you make money as a lawyer in England?
I make some money, yes.
Do you have a comfortable life?
That's relative. I'm happy with what I do. What I think is really important is to be happy in your. If you're happy in your heart, you're happy in all circumstances, and I'm happy in my heart.
So you could pay your electricity bill, your mortgage, pay the school fees for children, things like that you can do, yeah?
It's all about having a standard of life that you're comfortable with. And different people have different expectations from life.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be personal. I just want to know, Tanya and Michael, people who want to go in law, or people who are not well established as both of you are. I mean, are you happy with financial rewards in law?
Well, there's a difference. As Michael says, it's relative. It depends what type of law you practice and what type of financial rewards you get. For instance, lawyers who practice criminal law won't get as much financial recompense as those who practice in financial law, tax law. It's different. You do the social side of the law, like crime and family, because you're very interested in the type of law that it is. You do the other kind of commercial type areas of law, and you get better financial reward. So it is relative. It depends. It totally depends.
So you are telling me you didn't choose that area of law because of financial rewards. You've chosen the area you're practicing in because you like it. رفتین اونجایی که چیزی که دوست دارید مثلا.
I did that particular area of law because I developed a very big interest in it from a very early age. I originally practiced criminal law, and because I was practicing in a very high crime rate area and a lot of child abuse cases came to our office, I developed an interest in child abuse, and that's how I developed my specialty, which I do now. And that's my area of law, is dealing with child
But then
abuse.
since you deal a lot with public sector, the fees you are paid hourly are not that attractive, are they?
I don't get paid a fee hourly, the firm gets paid.
Okay,
I get a salary from the firm.
you get a salary. But you practice a lot of business,
Commercial litigation.
commercial litigation. So you're like a boxer.
That's right.
Every time you go in as a fighter.
That's right. Litigation, commercial litigation, in my opinion, is a combination of legal chess, legal poker, and a legal boxing match.
So you're a poker player, a chess player, and a boxer.
For a client, yes.
Well, you're a very articulate and a very elegant man, so.
I don't know.
The boxer. So, when you go in, do you really go in to destroy or?
We're not paid to lose. We're paid to win. It requires a lot of hard work and evaluation of your case. And I'm out to destroy.
But then,
That's the opposition.
sure. But would you take it? Would you take a case that you have no possibility of winning?
If the justice is on the side of my client, I will evaluate the case. The client will then have to make a decision. I've taken a case where the chance of success was, by the court, defined as almost negligible to negligible. It was in a very narrow category, and the court gave a judgment in my favor. So that's what I think is not challenging when you have a case that's got.
So Tanya, here I want to come back to you. Here you see a chess player, a poker player, a boxer. This is what LA Law is about. You know, the movies we get.
Mm-hmm.
This is. You come across as more of the social aspect of law,
Mm-hmm.
the modeling of law.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at your colleagues, how do you kind of link with your colleagues, this side of law to this side of law?
I have nothing but respect for the type of law that Michael practices and the type of lawyer that I'm sure he is. That we practice two different areas of law, and Michael can afford to go into court and fight and be a boxer and a poker player because he's dealing with financial matters. I couldn't afford to be like that because I'm dealing with people's lives. Two totally different things.
Well, you've never missed that kind of excitement.
I don't know because I've never done it. Maybe if I'd done it, I would miss it. I don't know. Would
that's
you miss?
okay.
Would you want to do my area of law?
I'm really a litigator through and through, and I think what's really important is you've got to do what you really enjoy doing. You've got to look forward to going to your office on Mondays, and you've got to enjoy Monday through to Friday. And if it means working till 11, 12 at night, you've got to really enjoy it. So whether you do matrimonial work or you do crime or litigation or whatever, you've got to really enjoy what you do.
Okay, then it comes time to you. This is with this question again. As a woman, have you experienced any prejudices in law or practicing law? Has it hindered you? Is it
No, not at all.
not at all? What about being an Iranian woman?
No.
The name Tanya Zavihi has not been a problem.
No, only when people can't pronounce it, which is more often than not. I get called a lot of things because they can't pronounce the name, but no, it's fine.
Benim من شیرازی هستم.
No.
نمی‌دونی شیرازی هستی. چرا بهش نمی‌دونی؟
Well, Trillium, my lord Manchilazia as well.
Why not? So you've never had that problem?
No.
Nothing. That's very interesting. Very good. I mean, it's
I know
good
other
news
people
to us.
who have, but I haven't.
Why do you think they have and you haven't had?
Different circumstances, different attitude, different way of dealing with things. I don't know. Luck.
Yeah. Which, you know, I was going to ask this question later on, but I'm going to bring it forward because while we are at it at women's practicing law. Now, we've got two good examples here. We got Sherry Blair and Hillary Clinton. We have also two men, Tony Blair and President Bill Clinton. Now, both of them owe their success, according to themselves, a lot to their spouses for being very successful women and financing them through their political career. So I ask you first, and then I come to Michael. So is that a recipe for success? If you marry a successful woman lawyer, your chances of becoming successful in life improves a lot. Is that the message from these two cases?
No. I think it very much depends on the man. If the man is competent, then he's going to be successful. I don't think it's got anything to do with the woman. The woman can earn as much money as possible, and yet the man might be a failure.
So you're saying Bill Clinton or Tony Blair would have made it as Prime Minister or President without their spouses?
I don't know. We can hypothesize about what they would or wouldn't do. I don't really know, but I don't think it's all down to Hillary and Cherie's success. But,
No, but a great portion of it.
I don't know.
You don't know. Michael, what do you think?
I would say if husband and wife are evenly yoked, they've got a better chance of success than if they're not.
So you mean if you have two partners who, a husband and a spouse, if both are successful, the chance of becoming more successful improves greatly.
I wouldn't necessarily use the word successful. I would use the word, as I said, evenly yoked, of equal abilities, able to complement each other and work together as a team.
Okay.
And then they will be much more successful than if there's of different character.
Both of you obviously enjoy law very much, and you are making good living out of it, and you are established. I'd like you to tell me what message do you have for people who want to go in law, or are practicing law. What motivational message would you have for that?
I think for the people who want to practice law, I would say choose the area of law very carefully, because particularly in England, it's very difficult to chop and change between the particular areas of law. Once you develop a specialty, you're more likely to stay within that area of specialty than change to another area. I would find it practically impossible to now move into, for instance, Michael's area of law, because it's just
Commercial litigation.
Yes. So choose the area of law very carefully, decide whether you want to be a solicitor about I think the move with the current climate in England is that the change is going to come sooner rather than later anyway. It's just going to be one-tier legal system rather than a two-tier system as it is now. For the people who are already in law, they're already motivated enough. They don't need anything from me to keep them motivated. I think, if they're already in the legal profession and they're doing a good job, and they should carry on.
Okay. Michael, you tell us what message you have, and especially for our friends in the United States, since you've been practicing as lawyers, not only on law side of it, but how we could link with people in US from UK.
Well, I think there's two different questions you've put me. I'll answer the first one first. If you want to become a lawyer, do it only because you really enjoy law, and you're prepared to work hard, and you're prepared to excel, like any other profession. And I agree with Tanya, you've got to start off on a wider base and gradually narrow down to a particular specialty. Once you've got a specialty, it's difficult to change that, because never change to what it is. So that, I would say, is the answer to the first part of the question. Second part of the question is, if you've got a lawyer in America who wants to have some presence or practice in England, and he's got to have a client base that would have a need for legal advice in England, and either they've got to have an office here, they've got to have a relationship with a lawyer here that they can work with, which is what I've done in the reverse, where I've had cases in America and I work with American lawyers. I work very closely and very successfully.
Right. That's very good. So hopefully there'll be lots of links between UK and US lawyers, business people. You'll be helping business people like myself and so to link with US. And thank you, Tanya. Just one question on that. When you said there's one area that you like everything, what happens to all these people you help and they're ungrateful? What do you do with people who are ungrateful, always complain? How do you deal with that?
That's their prerogative. We have procedures in our office where the grievances can be heard. They refer to the law society or the courts if they want to, and grievances can be aired. At the end of the day, you do your best, and you just take the rough with the smooth.
And Tanya, since you take a lot of cases from local government, am I correct to say that?
Mm-hmm.
So yours is mostly not private sector, public sector cases. And there's very little thanking that is there.
The thanks comes when you actually see the best outcome for the child. That's the thanks.
That's the thanks. But that's a very happy note on that. Thank you very much, Tanya, and I wish you every success.
Thank you.
And Michael, thank you very much, and I wish you the same. امیدوارم که از برنامه امشب لذت برده باشید. شب بخیر. شما را به خدا میسپارم. به امید دیدار.